seem a lot less cluttered. So you choose clothes, but you want to get buy-in from the children, right? So how do we get buy-in? Well, we incorporate them and we ask them, so we see the room has a lot of things going on. What do you think we could pick up first, right? Because once you get that buy-in, it's less like a chore and more like, I want to do this. I want to have a nice, clean, organized, serene space. Instead of, you need to go in there and clean your room. And we know as parents, that's what we really want to say. But if we can get the buy-in from them, we're going to have a lot more success in what they're doing. And we're teaching them not to be so codependent. They're absolutely going to be independent. I talked about the timers and how that can be your ally. That's just one example. They make various timers out there. You can even use your cell phone. I mean, if you have an iPhone, you can say, hey Siri. If you have an Alexa, you can say, hey Alexa, and they can set those timers for you. So when we talk about putting things in bite-sized pieces, time it, you know, putting away clothes shouldn't take 2 hours. So we don't want to get lost and allow that child to be lost in the task, because now what's happening? They're overwhelmed, they're frustrated, and they've gotten nothing done. And as parents, we're overwhelmed and we're frustrated. And we absolutely don't want that. Positive reinforcement. When we think of positive reinforcement, that's anything that you already have going on. So we're not going to go out and create something brand new. We're not giving them $100 for doing things that they're already supposed to do. Whatever you already have planned, that's the positive reinforcement. Maybe on Tuesdays, that's popcorn night. That's Disney movie night. Maybe you guys were going to Sky Zone anyway, right? So you want to incorporate what you're already doing for positive reinforcement. Maybe you say, hey, do this for 20 minutes. When the timer goes off, we'll go outside, we'll take a walk. Something that's healthy, we're not trying to bribe your children. That's not the goal of this, no briberies. So that's something that we want to look at. You want to train the brain, that way they can benefit from a predictable routine and schedule. When we talk about making beds and just a routine, predictable schedule, something as simple as making a bed can just have someone off kilter because they don't know where to start, right? So think back to the bite-sized pieces. When we look at the bed, we think about what would need to be done first, right? So maybe don't have the pillows on the bed. And we talk this through, talking about creating visual things for the kids. Have your kids possibly draw or print pictures and put it up for them to see. So maybe what you do, you take a picture of what the bed looks like messy. Once they've made it, you take a picture, you print it out. So this is their bed, not a stock photo, but their bed, so that they can see that it's capable and it's possible to make the bed the way it needs to be made, right? And just getting into that routine. So maybe on your dry erase board, you put, when you get out of bed, make the bed. Or when you get out of bed, you brush your teeth. But create a routine to where now they're understanding, hey, if they pop into the kitchen and they're greeting you, hey, Dad, the first thing you say is, did you do what the board said? Or, you made your bed? And they can't say like, oh, yes, I did, because it's going to have a picture for them to see what it should look like. So just really important to kind of rehearse that with the kiddos as a strategy. When we think about breaking things down into small tasks, we would never expect an actor or actress to act in a movie and give their lines the whole way through. Like, that's just never going to happen, right? I don't care how good of an actor you are, you're never going to be able to present something from start to finish. So, and if that was the case, we wouldn't have bloopers, and everybody loves a good blooper. So we just want to make sure that, like a director breaking a movie into scenes, parents are always breaking tasks down. You want to be mindful of the triggers, right? So when we talk about breaking tasks down, there's different triggers for our kiddos that at times, maybe the transition itself is triggering for them. So they're playing and you're saying, hey, it's time to get ready for dinner. And they don't have any type of transition time. So think about when we're doing this and the brain is working, instead of a hard stop, you want to give them time to transition mentally. So you say, hey, we're going to be doing dinner in 5 minutes. Alexa, set the timer for 5 minutes, right? And in your mind, you can process that something new is getting ready to happen. Because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes change, even though it can be for the best, it just throws me off. You know, I remember my son, I coached basketball, and I would have to take the boys to the games. And it, you know, inevitably would be somebody at the last minute whose parent had to work. And so he'd say, hey, mom, Jordan needs a ride. And we're walking out the door with water bottles, uniforms. And even though Jordan lived literally 5 minutes from our house, I'd be like, why would you wait till right now out the door to tell me this? Right. And, you know, what's the big deal? But in my brain, that was too much to process. I needed time to prepare for that transition because really I had to pass Jordan's house to get there anyway. I wasn't going out of my way, but it was just the thought that I didn't plan that. That's not what I was thinking was going to happen. I was just like, we were going to get in the car and we were going to go. So, you know, you want to really have that breaking things down and just being mindful of everything that we're doing. So when we talked about the room, now this is obviously something that's very overwhelming, and I hope no one's room would ever look like this because I think I'd have to hire someone to come in and help at this point. It would overwhelm me. But just an example, right? You walk into something like that, it's just gonna overwhelm you immediately. You don't even know where to start. Even if you want to start, you don't know where to start. So just thinking about this is why we want to break things into small tasks. We absolutely want to give those breaks. And it's okay if you don't finish it in one day. You know, it's up to you. It's whatever you create. So get that buy-in from your kiddos and make it fun. Make something to where they want to do it and have that area nice and neat because once your area is nice and neat, your brain can relax. But if an area is cluttered, your brain tends to be cluttered and constantly focusing on so many different things. And it becomes hard for us to focus on what the task at hand really is. So when we talk about rehearsing actions to strengthen time management, using our visual cues and alarms, those are all things that are going to help us be successful in the space that needs to be done with our kids. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I never was able to get my kids to do this. Never. Now, I just put this photo up because I thought it was entertaining. If any of your children were ever doing this, I love it. I mean, I didn't get that benefit or bonus where they just thought cleaning was a fun joy. And I did. I bought the fake vacuum. I bought the fake mop and the broom. And then when it was time to do it, they were like, no, I don't want to do that. But all jokes aside, we definitely want to help them rehearse good habits, right? Because just when you turn into a teenager or you turn into an adult, your brain doesn't stop with the executive dysfunction, it keeps going. So you absolutely have to have those good, healthy habits, those good tools. And mom and dad, aunt, grandma, cousin won't be there. You know, when you're on your own, they're not there telling you to clean up or, you know, make your bed. And so when you are in your own space, you find that if you have not found the strategies, you are now frustrated. And that frustration goes from your house to your job. And I'm sure many of you have worked with an individual that you kind of wonder, they just, they can't ever get it together. They're kind of always all over the place. So if you create that healthy habit at home, it then you hope will transfer to your social life and even at work as our kids grow up. Triggers. Triggers is a big one. So I talked about earlier one of my triggers, and that was like transitioning or kind of a change. I would say that was changing my routine, right? So this is really important that you know your child and you recognize things that trigger your child. Because if you don't understand that your child does not like the hard stop to do dinner time, it will just look like they're being maybe bratty or upset or being defiant, right? But if you can recognize that this is a trigger for them, they absolutely need a transition time. They need that countdown that we're getting ready to do something different. Then now you're not fighting an uphill battle on a slip and slide, but with Dawn soap all over it, because that's just no fun. So understanding your child and realizing, hey, no, they're not being a brat. They need that time. Distractions. I like to use the word squirrel. Squirrels will jump right out in front of your car and they don't care. I don't know what goes on with the squirrels, but I tell you what, they're not paying attention ever. So distractions, right? You want to make sure that when you send your child to do something, if at all possible, you prep them and allow them to understand, hey, this is the task, repeat the task back to me. So when you head to do the task that is at hand, you come back and the task has been handled. Not coming back and saying, I don't remember what you said, Mom. I was in there and you're like, what were you doing? They went to the bathroom and they're playing in the water now. You know, they're just doing everything but the thing you sent them to do. So, and I am guilty of this, very guilty. So sometimes I have to repeat to myself, and I do this internally. I'm like, dish soap, dish soap, dish soap, because I'm going to go get the dish soap to put it some to do something with it. Because if not, I'll be in the kitchen and I'm like, why am I in there? What was I? And then I'll start cleaning the dishes or doing something, putting dishes away out the dishwasher. So I'm constantly repeating to remind myself what task was I headed to do, because otherwise distractions are so easy. And I feel like you don't even have to have executive dysfunction or ADHD to have that problem. So time pressure. Kids are under time pressure, right? They have projects, they have homework, things are due. And by all means, they have a bedtime. So you want to make sure that they understand that time. That time component is very critical and very crucial. This is not everyone. Some people manage their time very well. But if you notice that your child is struggling with time pressure, when you say something like, you have 5 minutes, get your shoes on and we're getting out of here. And if they have a meltdown right there, it is time to go back, regroup, and find out, how do we tackle that? Because they don't do well under time pressure. So all of these things are individual to your child. It's not going to be a one size fits all or a cookie cutter. These are things that maybe some people struggle with it, maybe some people don't. For me, I operate kind of well under time pressure, but not all the time. So it's better for me to kind of know what's going on. And I think sometimes a lot of people, they don't want that pressure of, we got to do it right now. It's like, why? I don't want to, just leave me alone. And you'll see people shutting down. You know, they just absolutely will shut down to whatever's supposed to be being done. Changes in routine. Try to prep. If you know there's going to be a change in the routine coming up, try to give information ahead of time. Give that child or that teenager that prep time. Hey, something's coming up. Or so, for example, maybe you guys are going to be changing dinner routine. Maybe every Tuesday is Taco Tuesday, but now that's going to be Spaghetti Tuesday. I don't know why you would do that, but if you do, maybe you just give a heads up, right? Because showing up at the dinner table, and I'm thinking for sure that we're doing Taco Tuesday and I see a bowl of spaghetti, I don't want it. I'm just going to go to bed hungry. And again, you're like, well, that's very defiant. No, you changed my routine and I didn't have time to prepare mentally for what was about to happen. So everything sometimes just is that we keep coming back to that time. We need time to understand that change is coming. And if we have time to prepare, then we can process, you know what, spaghetti isn't that bad after all on Tuesdays, because then you get to eat it again on Wednesdays, because it's always better the second day. You eat tacos the next day, they're not as good. Complex tasks. When we talk about complex tasks, it could be anything that's complex to your child, right? So maybe for me, I consider doing laundry complex. Don't laugh, I'm telling the truth. I love to put stuff in the washer and I love to get it to the dryer. After that, I don't know what happens. It becomes complex. It sits in a basket at times, right? So I've had to tell myself, because that is a complex task for me, immediately when it comes out, we're folding and we're hanging and we're hanging and we're folding and we're going to put this away right now. Because if not, just raise your hand. I won't even look at you guys if you just have a basket somewhere and it has some clothes in it. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you for putting your hand up in the back. So, you know, everything should have a home. When we talk about just being organized, this is one of the containers that I utilize just to put my shoes in. So everything has a home. That is really, really important when we talk about the organization and everything we want to do. So moving on to just, we talked about managing the emotions and identifying and reducing triggers. Now we're going to talk about the techniques. So when you see your child beginning to have that meltdown, or maybe it's not a meltdown, maybe you perceive it to be a tantrum, right? Talk your child through it. You have to rehearse with them, first of all, what's happening with them. Because many times, and I'll use my son for an example, he's 18 now, he graduated from Lee Summit North, he's in a welding program, he's there now, which is why he's not here watching me, because I would have drug him here with me. But when he was, I would say between the ages of 3 to 7, he struggled with things in school. His executive function was not all the way there. So here's a prime example. The teacher would say Caden, his name was Caden. And I don't know why I named him that, because there were a ton of them. I'm sure he hated me because of it, because there were so many Cadens back then. But I knew none. So the teacher, would call me, and I was constantly getting phone calls about his behavior, his meltdowns. He's hitting the desk, he's kicking the wall. He was never physical with any other children, but he would be physical with, objects, the desk, the floor, the table. And one of the biggest things he struggled with was pencil sharpening time. He struggled huge. And so he came home one day, and I said, Caden, we're going to practice pencil sharpening time. And so we sat in his room, and I got a pencil sharpener, and I said, get a pencil. And so he says, okay. And he's 5, he's in kindergarten. He doesn't really know what's getting ready to happen, but I'm prepared. And I'm like, oh, this is going to happen, because we're not going to have these tantrums on this pencil sharpening. Now, mind you, I really didn't know. I never heard of executive dysfunction. I didn't know what was going on. I just thought, that's weird that he throws a tantrum during pencil sharpening. So we sit there and we kind of talk, and I say, let's practice sharpening your pencil. So we began to do that. And I say, now sharpen your pencil. He sharpens the pencil, then he sits down, and I break the lead. And I said, now raise your hand and ask to sharpen your pencil. And he raised his little hand, and he's looking at me because he thinks he's going to get to sharpen this pencil. But baby, no, there's not going to be a pencil sharpened today. So I say, you cannot sharpen your pencil, Caden. And you would have thought that I told him that his dog died that he didn't have, because he was like welling up with tears. And I was like, well, what's happening? And so I said, listen, I didn't say you can't sharpen it at all. You just can't sharpen it right now. So when you're in class and Miss K says, Caden, you can't sharpen your pencil, she doesn't mean you can't sharpen it forever. She just means right now, because that is a distraction to the other students. And so when you hit the desk, or you kick the desk, or you stomp the floor, you are now disrupting the entire class from learning. And we had to practice, I kid you not, guys, for about a week, so that he can understand the importance of, it's not that you can never sharpen this pencil, but you can't do it right now. He was having a tough time understanding that information. And we rehearsed it, and we rehearsed it, and we rehearsed it. And I absolutely had him talking to the school counselor so that they can work on whatever they worked on there. And so what I'll say is, different things that we talked about were role playing, deep breathing, and eventually his teacher said, I don't know what you guys did, but he's good now. He's okay when it's not pencil sharpening time. And I was like, thank God, because I thought he was going to get kicked out. Lord knows I can't homeschool a kid, right? I'm not ready for it. Everybody learned in COVID that was not the bug. You thought it was until it wasn't. So when we think about techniques, deep breathing, not only deep breathing, but maybe counting, just everybody, if you just take a deep breath in now, and then blow it out. Take a deep breath in, and then blow it out. And you just do that with your kid and have them practice that. And maybe you have them practice, I always do this with my dear students. I call this the hot air balloon, or the balloon breath. I'm gonna put the mic down. You can still hear me. But I said, you're gonna act like you're blowing air into a balloon, right? And you're gonna go, and then you're gonna let it all come out the back of your mouth. And you're gonna suck it in. And so whatever technique that you can use, you're going to use those different techniques to help calm your child's brain down, because essentially that's what happens. That brain is racing, it's overstimulated, it's reacting to everything. And it's the thoughts that are going on, the emotions are not regulated, and now actions are happening, right? But not always the actions that we want to see happen. So in order for us to promote healthy emotions, you have to rehearse. And I'm not saying pencil sharpener, but if it works, it works. So Christopher Reeves, anyone can give up. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. But to hold it together when everyone else would understand if you fell apart, that's the true strength. Everyone knows he had an accident when he was competing horseback riding. Happened in 95. In 1997, he went on to write 2 autobiographies and produce films in this state. So we want to understand that the executive brain dysfunction does not mean that you can't be successful. And if you wanted to give up, people would understand. But I promise you, if you just rehearse and you keep trying and giving it your all, you absolutely have the capabilities of being successful. And caretakers, if you're caring for someone that has anything with their brain going on, ADHD, and like I said, executive dysfunction is not just related to ADHD, but it absolutely intensifies with ADHD. Make sure you're taking some time to have a break to yourself, because it can be a lot, even partners as adults, it can be a lot. So when you recognize these things, bring it to the person's attention. I think if you bring it to your kid's attention, hey, I've noticed that we're struggling with this. Let's work on that. It's very helpful. Strategies in the nutshell. So some of the things that we talked about: checklists, timers, practicing mindfulness. You want to make sure you schedule those transitions, set reminders if you can, and do regular progress check-ins. Always take a break. It's no need to try to push through. It's not really healthy to push through. We all want to get things done, but if you take that break, you can absolutely get more things done. Deep breathing, visual aids, repetition, and review. Some additional resources. So you guys are here. I'm taking it. You heard of Chat, which is amazing, amazing program. There's the Attitude Magazine and Taking Charge of ADHD by Russell A. Barkley. I'm Layla Lawson, and that is my presentation on executive dysfunction. You guys have been a great audience. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Do you have time for questions? Does anybody have any questions for Layla? Questions? Where'd you get the timer, the red light and green light thing?
So this came from Amazon. Amazon's my friend. So just to show you, so
can you talk into the microphone so they can hear you on this thing? No, you're good.
Amazon, and it's the name.
Oh no, it's that microphone. You're good.
Okay. So this is Kadams, Kadams, and if I set it, let's see, it's gonna turn green. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
And then so I'll let it go. It's only for 1 minute, so it's gonna go from green, then it's gonna I think it flashes yellow, and then it'll go red. So we'll let it go, and it's on seconds now, so it won't take long. But this is a great tool. I am a visual learner. I'm a visual person in general, and so this really helps me because I'm always running late for something. Again, ADHD, it's either we have to be there now or we don't have to be there at all. And if we don't think that it's like super important or there's a penalty for being late, then we don't always have good time management. And there doesn't have to be a penalty to be late, but we have to understand. So it beeps and then it went to yellow. And that is from my auditory. Because for me, if I'm doing something, I'm like, oh shucks, I gotta hurry, I don't want the timer to go out. Nothing's gonna happen, but I want to make myself proud. I want to do something, and then it's gonna do that. And then you just press that and it stops.
Cool.
So for me, it's very helpful to utilize that. It's the visual, and then it's the auditory part of it, and it's very helpful. So if anyone is struggling, it's better than the old school like baking timers. That's just kind of a tick, 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 tick. But if you have anyone that needs auditory and visual, those are very helpful.
Cool. Joey?
Executive dysfunction, you're saying that, it's not something that's common for all people with that ADHD, or it's something that with ADHD can have executive dysfunction.
So what I'm saying is executive dysfunction, your brain is already struggling, if you will, your neurological system is already not firing the way it should, right? So it's not that we have attention deficit necessarily, we have a lot of attention, we just don't know where to put it. So for me, it looks like I'm here, I'm there, I'm here, I'm there. Well, when we talk about executive dysfunction, now not only do I have a lot of attention, but my executive function is deficit. So I'm having trouble with my thoughts. I might really want to get out of bed, but it's hard for me to get out of bed. So it intensifies when you have ADHD. Just because you have ADHD does not guarantee you're going to have this, but I would say, and Jeremy can back me up, 9 times out of 10,
I'd say most, yeah.
you will have it. You know, you will struggle with this. There's probably an anomaly out there that doesn't. I've not met them,
Yeah.
but yes, there's a rare case.
But you can have executive dysfunction and not have ADHD.
Yes, and you absolutely can have executive dysfunction and not have ADHD because it's also related to other health conditions like dementia and a variety of other
Traumatic brain injury.
Traumatic brain injury. There's a lot of other things where executive dysfunction can show up, but it absolutely intensifies for us with ADHD.
Yep. Got it.
Good question. Thank you. Any other questions?
Can I add on to that question for you, Layla?
Yeah. My son is 30 years old. So, but, you know, when you were talking, there was so many things that, I was just sitting here thinking to myself, there's so many things that I wish I had known then, but it helped him with it. Now it's kind of those.
Right.
I'll just give you an example. Slipping is there. Good job. In hospital. And we were actually sharing kind of his little hard time with this also. So anyway, we were helping him get back and forth to work. Taking him to work on to work the night shift. And buses working. But anyway, so we were helping him get back to work. Well, I told his dad, I said, you know, I'm not gonna be able to let him stay with me anymore because I'm a senior and I want you to follow the rules. So his dad took it upon himself to move him out to his own apartment. And unfortunately, probably 2 weeks, he just sort of shut down. Stop doing work. Say it's going. Call, say okay, okay. Say I'm going to get people out. It was like he just shut down. Just did nothing. And I was lost. And so, another question. Okay, there's an organization that's called
Maybe I can help you think of it. What do they do? Is it like a restart program?
So people that have disabilities, they will help them to be successful on the job, and we would send someone with them to the job.
Oh, yes. I don't know what it's called. I've heard it.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So my question is, I know that they can find if they help someone to go on the job with them, stay with them, and see how they run and work with suggestions. It was helping to be successful for them. This chat off like that. So it's about
No, we're primarily, we're just a support group. So we provide like, online resources and, again, support groups and, information. And I'm trying to think, we do this international conference, but we don't have any like direct care. Yeah.
Great question. And just hearing you say that, I was diagnosed late with ADHD. I didn't get diagnosed until I was in my 40s. I would tell people I was self-diagnosed through Google prior to. And so I will say this, maybe it's something that he gets with his healthcare provider just to find out. Because when you're not aware that you have something, you're not able to properly treat what's going on with you. And also it's the self-awareness. When you know that you have something, you're like, I'm not crazy. So this really is a thing for me. And when you talked about how he shut down and stopped going to work, that was a hard transition. That was a hard stop for him that he was not ready for. He wasn't prepared for that. So I'm not saying he has this. I'm just saying I think that you can be diagnosed at any age. We're seeing that more and more. It's not just for children, it's also for adults. And I would get with any medical provider, I'm sure, that's trained in identifying something like that. And Jeremy, is that correct? Any medical provider that's trained in that knows what ADHD would look like and be able to diagnose, is what I'm saying.
It could die. Oh, yeah.
That does it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
ADHD and bipolar.
Okay.
Yeah. Executive function disorder isn't an actual diagnosis. It's a symptom.
ADHD and middle school and bipolar pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So-
Good questions.
We have a question from the online audience. Do you have any recommendations for alarm clocks for hard sleepers?
I do not have any recommendations for alarm clocks for hard sleepers. I'm trying to think. I don't want to give anybody any incorrect information. And here's why. What I'm thinking of as a hard sleeper may not be their version of a hard sleeper. So I don't want to give out any bad information. But I will definitely research it. If they want to give me their email, get back with them.
Okay, cool. We can definitely get you that information.
Did you guys have any questions?
All right. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate your time. Hopefully you learned something today.
So next
Jeremy,
month, we're going to be online only. We're not going to be in person. So we won't have technical challenges because it'll just be me and my laptop and the fabulous Emily Kirchner Morris, who's going to talk about assessing suicidality. So symptoms of suicide in your teenager or adolescent with ADHD. She's truly a phenomenal speaker. She's presenting at the big ADHD conference this year. And I heard her give the same presentation at the ADHD conference last year. She's tweaked it a bit for us, but it's definitely, for parents, don't bring your adolescent with you. But it's going to be a great talk. And so please join us online. You guys will get a follow-up email with information about how to sign up for the next one. And please, we'd love all your feedback. If there's something you want to see that we've not done yet, if there's a different location, we're trying out new locations, and I love being in new places, and I promise to show up much earlier the next time to make sure I have all the connecting cords, just in case they're not provided. But let us know what would be a good spot closer to you. We try to keep them on Tuesdays because Tuesdays work for us, and that's just kind of been when we've done it. But we're willing to go anywhere. So just let us know. Thank you so much for being here. Layla's information is up there, and we will post the recording online. Usually takes about a week and a half for us to get it together. So thank you again.
Jamie, I'm going to say thank you. Thank Jeremy. I mean, thanks for a great meeting. Glad I got these, you scrambled, I got the connection. Don't forget, you didn't mention, people wanted